Well, good morning and welcome. I'm getting back on track and I am going to be continuing, God willing, to read the Torah portions. This week's Torah portion is Beha'alotcha, and it means when you ascend, and it is our 36th, week 36th Torah portion. And it is Numbers 8:1 through 12:16. And the prophets is Zechariah 2:14 through 4:7. And the Gospels is Matthew 14:14 through 21. So, all right, start first. Let's get straight in and talk to the Father. Father God, thank you so much. Thank you for this time, for this space, for this opportunity to share your word, to read your word, to feast on your word. It is truly, truly living bread, living water that satisfies the soul. Thank you for your portions. Thank you for all the lessons you teach us as we dig in and dig through your word. It is truly alive and it truly does transform our lives. Bless everyone who is listening, who is watching, and send this out to whoever you want to see it. I just am so thankful that you are answering my prayer of the last several years, is to make me a useful vessel for your kingdom. And as simple as it is, just encouraging people to read your word. Thank you, Father. May that prayer go out, and that everyone that listens to this is encouraged and develops a hunger and a thirst to be in your word every day. In Yeshua's name, amen. All right, so I'm going to read from the commentary. And Beha'alotcha, I think it's pronounced that way. So last week's Parsha, and I'm reading from A Year Through Torah, a Christian's a week-by-week journey for Christians. It's really helpful because it's those of us that grew up in the church or have been in the church for many years, myself, over 40 years in the Christian church, we have a modern church mindset, and this helps to peel that away a bit and be able to see from an ancient Hebrew mindset, which the scriptures were written by, for, and about the ancient Hebrew. So, last week's Parsha, and the one challenge I do have with this is sometimes, they call the Israelites, which is the full 12 tribes, especially back in this portion, it's the 12 tribes because they're all still there. They've not been taken away in captivity or been dispersed among the nations at this point in Numbers. And sometimes they call them the Jews, which that's just inaccurate because the Jews are just one of the 12 tribes, the tribe of Judah. So there's some words in here that I'm not thrilled with, but I think it gives a really good backstory and helps us to understand what's going on. Like I said, those of us that have a modern day church mindset. So last week's Parsha, Naso, concluded with the Israelite camp arranged around the completed tabernacle. How exciting. And it was furnished and supplied by donations from each of the 12 tribes. Moses was inside the Mishkan, the tabernacle, listening to the voice of Yah, speaking to him from above the mercy seat. That's on the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, it says right here, that was on the Ark of the Testimony, Ark of the Covenant, Ark, the Ark, from between the two cherubim. In this week's Parsha portion, Yah first gives instructions about how to light the 7 lamps of the menorah within the holy place section of the Mishkan, and it begins, the Lord spoke to Moses saying, speak to Aaron, and say to him, when you mount the lamps, let the 7 lamps give light at the front of the lampstand. Numbers 8:1 and 2. So the menorah was placed, the menorah The menorah was the place of the holy fire and light within the HaKodesh section, so the holy section of the Mishkan. This holy lampstand was elaborately fashioned out of a single solid piece of gold. The study on the menorah is fascinating, and how far-reaching all through Scripture the menorah. There is, I don't have it. I used to have it up here. I wanted to frame it. But so you have one piece of gold, and they then, out of that one piece, the base, they make the 7, 3 on one side, 3 on the other, and then the one in the middle. They make the whole menorah. And I mean, there's so much to this, whereas like the 7 feasts, the 7 days of creation. And it's interesting because they mirror, and this one central starting piece is like the center. And so it's like, so we had the spring feast, the 3 spring feasts a couple months ago. Then we just had Shavuot, the only summer feast. And then we have the fall feast coming, the 3 fall feasts coming up. So Shavuot's kind of at the center, the pivotal between the 3. And each one of the menorah, actually, like I said, the 7 feasts, the 7 days of creation, on and on and on. It just has such beautiful meaning. So studying the menorah is, like I said, fascinating. Studying the tabernacle is fascinating. Studying how they position and lie around the tabernacle, it's just fascinating. So, okay. So the holy lampstand was elaborately fashioned out of a single solid piece of gold. Each of the menorah's 7 branches is intricately engraved with decorative knobs, cups, and flower-like figures, and pure olive oil was used to illuminate its flames. According to Midrash, now Midrash is kind of where people would get together, kind of like we do with our women's Bible study. We do a Midrash. We read the portion, and then we get together on Thursdays online, and we discuss what the Father revealed to us through those portions, or through that portion for the week. And so a Midrash is where people get together. So according to Midrash, Yahweh himself, or Yahweh, God, what is it? Elohim is kind of the translation, Elohim himself made the menorah based on exegesis of Numbers 8:4b, according to the pattern that Yah had shown Moses. So he, i.e. Yah, made the lampstand. The wicks of the menorah were bent toward the middle as if to accentuate the central wick. The dedication of the Levites. Moses then gathered the Levites together in order to purify them for their service at the Mishkan, the tabernacle. This is how the Levites were purified. They were sprinkled with water mixed with ashes of the red heifer. Now, if anyone's been paying attention to all the stuff going on about rebuilding the 3rd temple and needing the red heifer, from what I heard a couple years ago, they had 5 red heifers shipped to Israel from Texas, I think, and they're still examining and preparing. I don't know if any of them qualify. I think they still do. There's still 1 or more that qualify. But okay, so they are mixed with ashes of the red heifer and then immersed in a ritual bath, a mikvah, a baptism, containing flowing water. So living water has to be flowing. This is to purify them from impurity from contact with the dead. Like if they buried a family member or something like that, or touched an animal's carcass. Something. The hair of their body was completely shaved off to take the place of the menorah, who was purified from zarat. Zarat is what we call, what the Bible translated as leprosy, which it's not the leprosy that we know today. It's the medical leprosy. Zarat leprosy. It was a spiritual skin condition, usually brought upon evil speak, negative speaking. And we've come a long way, and we know now that speaking negatively. What do they say? If you talk to a plant and you say positive things to a plant, it grows. If you speak negatively, it dies. There's a lot there. How evil speaking brings upon physical ailments. So that's why we're told to guard our tongue and watch our words, because they have power. So anyway, so their hair was completely shaved off to take the place of the metzora. I'm not sure what metzora means. I'll find out. And then the Israelites were called to the Mishkan, to the tabernacle, and the firstborn among them performed, it's called Semi-Kaha. It's by laying on their hands on the heads of the Levites, transferring the role of the firstborn to the Levites. So if you've been following along, originally, our Heavenly Father, the Most High, He had planned on the firstborn of every family to be the priest for the family. But then when there were so many that engaged in the worshiping of the golden calf, and then He had the Levites go and kill 3,000 of the people that were worshiping the golden calf in the wilderness when they first came out, when Moses was up on Mount Sinai. He transferred the priesthood over to the Levites because they were faithful. They guarded his covenant, guarded his commandments, guarded His word. Even before the written word came down, they knew these. These were passed down from Adam to Seth. Seth. I get those two mixed up. But Adam to his sons, and so on to Noah and his sons, and so forth. A lot of the law, the instructions, they already knew. And so, so firstborn among them was performed, laying on the hands. So to transfer the role of the firstborn to the Levites. Aaron, the high priest, Moses' brother, Moses and Miriam's brother, then lifted each Levite up as a wave offering before the Lord. I wonder what that actually looked like. You pick them up. Each Levite was, here we go. Each Levite was literally picked up off the ground and waved up and down, right and left, etc. Wow. But the high priest, with 22,000 Levites, by the high priest, with 22,000 Levites, this must have been some undertaking for Aaron. That was a long day. That was probably took more than a day. So the Levites then laid their hands on selected bulls, and Moses offered korbanot, a sin offering, and an ascending offering. Pesach Shemini. Okay, so that I think is, as you know, on the day before the Exodus from Egypt, every Israelite offered a lamb as the Passover sacrifice to the Most High. Now, a year later, Yah instituted Passover as one of the yearly festivals by saying the children of Israel shall keep the Passover at its appointed season on the 14th day of the month at twilight, the 14th of Nisan, on the Hebrew calendar. You shall keep it its appointed time according to all its statutes and all its rules. You shall keep it. Before the Israelites celebrated the Passover, however, a group of men who were responsible for carrying Joseph's coffin and were therefore unclean because of their contact with the dead asked Moses how they could participate in the ceremony, since under the law of Passover, they were unfit for the Seder. Moses inquired of Yah, who then instituted Pesach Shemini, the second Passover. This second day would be exactly a month later on Iyar 14. When all who missed the first Passover would be required to eat the korbanot, the Pesach, the Passover lamb, with bitter herbs and unleavened bread in memory of the Exodus from Egypt. Unlike the regular Passover, however, unleavened bread was not required to be eaten the week following the Pesach Shemini. Today, some mark Iyar 14 by eating matzah in a way analogous to eating the afikomen matzah at the Passover Seder. We don't really do we personally not felt let. We did one year and it just didn't feel right, the Passover Seder, because that's a lot of Jewish tradition that we just have, we don't feel is necessary. And so an afikomen has something to do with one of the pieces of unleavened bread that represents Yeshua, our Messiah, the Mashiach. So note, however, that even though Yah permitted the Pesach Shemini for those who were unable to partake of Nisan Passover celebration, if anyone who is not unclean or otherwise unable to participate of the Seder fails to keep the Nisan Passover, that person would be cut off from Israel, meaning subject to divine judgment and early death. So the cloud over the Mishkan leads Israel. The cloud over the tabernacle leads Israel. When the Mishkan was first set up and dedicated, the Shekinah cloud of Yah's presence covered it by day and appeared as fire by night. And whenever the cloud lifted from over the tent, after that, the people of Israel set out in the place where the cloud settled down. There, the people of Israel would camp, Numbers 9:15. The Israelites traveled this way for 40 years in the desert, never knowing when a journey would begin or how long it would last. And we can kind of, that's very similar to what we, if we choose to follow him in faith, we don't know. In fact, he has done some major shifting and brought about some huge changes most recently in our lives, in my life, and things I thought was going one direction, and I made some decisions out of obedience to lay some things down, lay down my business, lay down my health coaching. I didn't think I was healthy enough. I didn't think I was qualified any longer because I had been so sick that I wasn't able to, even though I'd spent the last 8 years working on things that actually taught me how to be a better health coach, because now I'm not, back when I started, it was all about vanity and how I looked and to make myself look a certain way. And now it is more about being in health and treating my body as the temple, fueling good food. So I laid that down in obedience, and he turned around out of the blue and revamped it and brought it back to life his way, which is super cool. So talk about not knowing and following the pillar of fire by day and the smoke by night. And when it shifts, you've got to be in that position to be ready to shift with it, which I'm having a little challenge because, but it's good. It's good. So, okay, the silver trumpets. So Yah further instructed Moses to make 2 silver trumpets that were used to summon the camp to attention. The priests used different sounds to signal events. A tikah is a straight, unbroken blast, whereas a truah is a staccato division of the tikah in 9 rapid fire notes, and that's for an alarm. The shavrim is another blast of 3 broken sounds. When both the trumpets were blown, tikah, all of Israel was to meet Moses at the entrance of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, for instructions. If only one trumpet was sounded, then just the leaders were to convene. When Israel was to decamp and move to another location in the wilderness, both trumpets would blast, and they would do it, tikah, turah, tikah. Interesting. Signal of event, gathering of all Israel, tikah, both trumpets. Gathering of the leaders, tikah, 1 trumpet. Departure from the camp, tikah, turah, tikah, both trumpets. The turah was an alarm used to signal camp movements. Whenever Yah moved the entire camp, Judah, the eastmost camp, would break first. When the second turah was sounded, the camp of Reuben, southmost camp, would break, and so on. During warfare, the sound of the trumpets would be used so that you may be remembered before Yah, your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies, Numbers 10:9. The trumpet blast would also be used during appointment feasts and celebrations, Numbers 10:10. Israelites leave Sinai. After this, the Torah records that the Israelites broke camp on Iyar 20 of their second year in the wilderness, journeying in formation from Sinai, where they had been camped for nearly a year. It was at Sinai that Moses had first set up the Mishkan, the tabernacle, dedicated the priesthood, and taught the people the mitzvot of the Torah, the instructions. Whenever the Israelites broke camp, the cloud over the Mishkan would ascend as a cloud and rest over the tribe of Judah. The silver trumpets would then sound for the departure of the camp, and everyone would begin mobilizing. And when the Kohathites, that's one of the sons of Levi, that were they were commissioned to pack up the utensils and things in the tabernacle. When the Kohathites were ready to move the ark and the sacred objects, Moses would then say these words: "Arise, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered, and let those that hate you flee before you." Numbers 10:35. When the trip was finished, the cloud stopped moving, and the camps would be set up according to the Mishkan and all of its furnishings, and the cloud would not descend upon the Mishkan, however, until Moses prayed the following: "Return, O Lord, to the 10,000 thousands of Israel." Numbers 10:36. Today, these same verses are recited when the Torah scroll is taken out of the ark in the synagogues during the Torah processional at the service. So at the synagogues, they take out the Torah scroll of this Torah portion. So everywhere this coming Sabbath, the synagogues will take out the Torah scroll for this portion, and they will, in fact, one of my friend Angelina just went to a Messianic assembly, and they did, from what I remember her telling me, they prayed around the Torah, the scroll for that Torah portion, and I guess they probably prayed these prayers because that's what they do. So Jethro is Moses's father-in-law. He leaves Israel when Israel broke camp. So he's been with them for a year, because he came and he brought Moses's wife and sons with him, who had been staying with him while Moses went and demanded that Pharaoh let the people go. And so when Israel's camp broke to finish its trek to the promised land, Jethro, Moses's father-in-law, said he would return to Midian. He was a priest in Midian. Moses appealed for him to stay with them and share in Yah's blessing of Israel. It is unclear, however, whether Jethro stayed with the Israelites or if he actually went back to his homeland. One midrash says that he chose to stay with Israel, and his descendants became members of the Sanhedrin, which are who ended up becoming like the legal portion of they're like the judges, the 70. Ibn Ezra puts forward the suggestion that Havav is Moses's brother-in-law, and that is the brother of Zipporah, Moses's wife, and that Reuel, which is also Jethro, is another name for Jethro. Commentaries on this subject provide varying interpretations, so take it with a grain of salt. The people complained, and after 3 days' journey from Sinai to the promised land, the people began to murmur and complain of their difficulties, and Yah sent forth fire from heaven that consumed the edge of the camp. Some Jewish commentators say that those who complained were the mixed multitude, the ones that joined with Israel at the Exodus, people that came along out of Egypt with them, because not everybody, it wasn't just the Israelites that left Egypt. A lot of Egyptians actually left, and other, people from other nations. Since these would be the ones dwelling on the outskirts of the camp and not part of the formation of the tribes of the greater camp of Israel. However, many of the Jews, many of the Israelites were also killed, including the 70 elders who ate the covenant ratification meal on Mount Sinai. And Moses was appealed to intercede on behalf of Israel. The name of the place was called Taberah, and perhaps as a word play on the Hebrew word for mixed multitude. Sometime after this, rabble began to lust after meat. The rabble began to lust after meat. The word translated rabble or riffraff in certain translations is a word sorry, which means gathered mass of people, perhaps survivors of those who had been killed by the fire from Yehovah. But the Israelites also fell to complaining along the same lines, who will give us flesh to eat, which is a bit strange since they presumably had herds of animals that they could have slaughtered for food. The Torah states that the Hebrews missed the fish, cucumbers, melons, leeks, onions, and garlic that they were fed with eating the manna that Yah graciously supplied. Perhaps the Israelites were unwilling to slaughter their livestock because they intended to use them in the promised land, or perhaps they were afraid that they were only to be eaten before Yah during sacrificial occasions. At any rate, Jewish Midrash states that the manna was a supernatural food that changed its taste according to the faith and gratitude of the one who ate it. For the righteous ones, manna tasted wonderful, but to the wicked and faithless ones, it tasted dry and boring. When Moses heard the people weeping, he was displeased, and the anger of Yah blazed. Moses then complained to Yah that he was all alone and asked him how he could provide meat for the people. And Yah told him to find 70 new elders. The previous 70 were killed at Taberah, and convene them at the Mishkan, the tabernacle, to receive a portion of the prophetic spirit, so that Moses would not have to bear the burden of the people by himself. And he then told Moses to tell the people that the next day Yah would provide them with flesh. In fact, so much meat that it could come out of their nostrils and become loathsome to them. It goes on some more, but I want to get started. I don't want it to be run too long. So Beha'alotcha. 36th portion, when you ascend, chapter 8, verse 1. And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to Aharon and say to him, when you ascend to trim the lamps, let the 7 lamps give light in front of the lampstand. And Aharon did so. And he set up the lamps to face towards the front of the lampstand, as Yah commanded Moshe. And this is the work of the lampstand, beaten work of gold, from its base to its blossoms. It is beaten work, according to the pattern which Yah had shown Moshe. So he made the lampstand. And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, take the Levites from among the children of Israel, and you shall cleanse them. And do this to them to cleanse them. Sprinkle water of sin offering on them. And they shall shave all their body and shall wash their garments. So that sprinkle the water of sin offering is from the ashes of the red heifer mixed with water. And shave all their body and shall wash their garments and cleanse themselves, and shall take a young bull with its grain offering and fine flour mixed with oil, while you take another young bull as a sin offering. And you shall bring the Levites before the tent of appointment, and you shall assemble all the congregation of the children of Israel. And you shall bring the Levites before Yah, and the children of Israel shall lay their hands on the Levites, and Aaron shall wave the Levites before Yah, a wave offering from the children of Israel. So shall they be for doing the service of Yahweh, the Most High. And the Levites shall lay their hands on the heads of the young bulls, and shall be prepared as and on the young bulls, and one shall be prepared as a sin offering, and the other as an ascending offering to Yah, to make atonement for the Levites. And you shall have the Levites stand before Aharon and his sons, and they shall wave them a wave offering to Yah. Thus you shall separate the Levites among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. They're consecrated to him. They've taken the place of the firstborn. They've been redeemed. They are his. Then after the Levites shall go in to do service at the tent of appointment, when you have cleansed them and waved them as a wave offering, for they are given ones, given to me from among the children of Israel, I have taken them for myself instead of all who open the womb, all firstborn, the firstborn of all the children of Israel. For all the firstborn among the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. Because that's one of the, one of his commandments is all of the firstborn, the first to open the womb, are set aside or dedicated to him, the Most High. And on that day, for all the firstborn among the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I struck all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt, I set them apart unto myself. So when all the firstborn Egyptians, sorry, when all the Egyptian firstborn were killed, that's when he required that the firstborn Israelites all be dedicated to him, set apart to him. Sorry, firstborn children, and I have taken the Levites. Okay. When I struck all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim, I set them apart unto myself. And I have taken the Levites instead of all the firstborn of the children of Israel. And I have given the Levites as a gift to Aharon and his sons from among the children of Israel to do the service of the children of Israel in the tent of appointment, and to make atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come near the set apart place. Thus Moshe and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel did to the Levites according to all that Yah commanded Moshe concerning the Levites. So the children of Israel did to them. And the Levites cleansed themselves and washed their garments, and Aharon waved them a wave offering. I'll never be able to get out of my head now of Aaron picking them up and waving them all around. Sorry. And the wave offering before Yah, and Aaron made atonement for them to cleanse them. Then after that, the Levites went in to do the service of the tent of appointment before Aaron and the sons of Yah, and his sons, as Yah commanded Moshe concerning the Levites, so they did to them. And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, this applies to the Levites. From 25 years old and above, let him come into active service in service of the tent of appointment. And at the age of 50 years, they retire from active service of that service and serve no more. But they shall attend with their brothers in the tent of appointment to guard the duty, but shall do no service. Thus you shall do to the Levites according to their duties. 9. And Yah spoke to Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai in the first new moon. So the first month, so when the second month started, first new moon of the second year after they had come out of the land of Mizraim, saying, now let the children of Israel perform the Pesach at its appointed time. On the 14th day of this new moon between the evenings, perform it at its appointed time, according to all the laws and right rulings you perform it. And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel to perform the Pesach. So they performed the Pesach on the 14th day of the first new moon between the evenings and, wait a second here. So, okay, I'm sorry. So it's the first month. So this is a regular Pesach. The first month, but it's the second year. So the first year they were leaving Egypt. That was the Passover. The second year they performed the Passover feast or Passover. They observed the Passover set apart time. According to all the laws and right rules, you perform it. And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel to perform the Pesach, the Passover. So they performed the Pesach on the 14th day of the first new moon between evenings in the wilderness of Sinai. According to all that Yah commanded Moshe, so the children of Israel did. But there were men who were defiled from a being of a man, so that they were not able to perform the Pesach on that day. So they came before Moshe and Aharon that day, and those men said to him, we are defiled for the being of a man, for touching a dead person. Was Joseph's bones, bringing Joseph's bones. Why are we withheld from bringing near the offering of Yah at this appointed time among the children of Israel? And Moshe said to them, wait, let me hear what Yah commands concerning you. And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, when any male of you or your generations is unclean for a being, or it's far away on a journey, he shall perform the Pesach of Yah. He shall still perform the Pesach of Yah on the 14th day of the second new moon between the evenings, so on the second month. They perform it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, they eat it. They do not leave it until morning, and they do not break a bone of it. According to all the laws of the Pesach, they perform it. But the man who is clean and is not on a journey and has failed to perform the Pesach, that same being shall be cut off from among his peoples, because he did not bring the offering of Yah at its appointed time. That man bears his sin. And when a sojourner sojourns among you, then he shall perform the Pesach of Yah. He shall do according to the law. He shall do so according to the law of the Pesach and according to its right rulings. You have one law both for the sojourner and the native of the land. I love that, because right there it's saying, this is not just for the Jews. It's not just for Israel. This was given to everybody who wants to walk in covenant with the Most High. And on the day that the dwelling place was raised up, the cloud covered the dwelling place, and the tent of witness from the evening until morning, it was above the dwelling place like the appearance of fire. Thus it was continually. The cloud covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night. And whenever the cloud was taken up from above the tent, after that, the children of Israel would depart. And in the place where the cloud dwelt, there the children of Israel would camp. At the mouth of Yah, the children of Israel departed, and at the command of Yah, they camped. They remained camped as long as the cloud dwelt above the dwelling place. Even when the cloud lingered many days above the dwelling place, the children of Israel guarded the charge of Yah and did not depart. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And so it was, when the cloud was above the dwelling place a few days, according to the mouth of Yah, they camped, and according to the mouth of Yah, they would depart. And so it was, when the cloud dwelt only from evening until morning, when the cloud was taken up in the morning, then they departed, whether by day or by night, whether the cloud was taken up, they departed. Whether 2 days or a new moon, so 2 days or a month or a year, that the cloud lingered above the dwelling place, it dwelled upon it. The children of Israel camped and did not depart, but when it was taken up, they departed. At the mouth of Yah they camped, and at the mouth of Yah they departed. They guarded the charge of Yah at the mouth of Yah by the hand of Moshe. 10. And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, make 2 silver trumpets for yourself, and make them of beaten work. And you shall use them for the gatherings of the congregation and for the breaking of camp. And when they blow, both of them, all the congregation shall meet before you at the door of the tent of appointment. And if they blow one, then the leaders, the heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather to you. And when you blow a shout, the camps that lie on the east side shall depart. And when you blow a shout the second time, the camps that lie on the south side shall depart. They blow a shout for them to depart. And when the assembly is to be assembled, you blow, but do not shout. And the sons of Aharon, the priests, blow the trumpets, and it shall be to you for a law forever throughout your generations. So this should still be, and this should, well, sadly, we don't have a tabernacle, and we don't have a tabernacle anymore. But the blowing of the trumpets, and probably in Israel, maybe it is still being done. I don't know. Well, they don't have all the different tribe heads now. They just have basically the Jews, the tribe of Judah, and there's some Benjamites, tribe of Benjamin, and some Levites in there too. But anyway, and when you go into battle in your land against the enemy that distresses you, then you shall shout with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before Yahweh, your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies. And in the day of your gladness, and in your appointed times, the feasts, the appointed times, and at the beginning of your new moons. That's one of the things we do with our women's Bible study, is we have, I host a new moon call where we go over the meaning of that month, and we blow our shofars, we blow our ram's horns, and we welcome in the new month each month, the Hebrew new month, which starts on the new moon. There's controversy, and I'm not sure. It's either when there's no moon, when it's dark, or when there's the sliver. different people have different views, and I just don't get involved in that. I go as close as I can to the moon, and I actually use an app because I can't always see the moon from where I live. So, and when you go into battle, and blah blah blah, I already did that. And go into battle and land against the enemies that distresses you, and you shall shout the trumpets, and you shall remember before Yah and your enemies, and you shall be saved from your enemies. And in the day of your gladness, and in the day of your appointed times, and at the beginning of your new moons, you shall blow the trumpets over your ascending offerings and over your slaughterings and peace offerings, and they shall be remembered for you before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I also blow the shofar at sundown every Sabbath, because the Sabbath is actually the first, was the first feast described, the first set apart, appointed time is the seventh day, the Shabbat, the Sabbath. So blow it on that, blow it on the other appointed times and the new moons. So, and like I said, we can't do it exact because there is no temple, there's no tabernacle, we're not in the land, but what we are doing is practicing for when we are regathered and taken back to the land, and can actually do it with our Messiah when he comes back the right way, as he teaches us. So, and it came to be on the 20th day of the second new moon in the second year that the cloud was taken up. Okay, so it's the 20th day of the second month of the second year. So they moved, I think, no, they had the Pesach. Okay, so anyway, the 20th day of the second new moon, the second month in the second year, that the cloud was taken up from above the dwelling place of the witness, and the children of Israel departed, setting out from the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud dwelt on it in the wilderness of Paran. Thus they departed the first time, according to the mouth of Yah, by the hand of Moshe. And the banner of the camp of the children of Judah, departed first according to their divisions, and over their armies was Nahshon, son of Amminadab, and over the army of the tribe of the children of Issachar was Nathaniel, son of Sur, and over the army of the tribe of the children of Zebulun was Eliab, son of Helon. And the dwelling place was taken down, and the sons of Gershom and the sons of Merari departed, bearing the dwelling place. So we went over this last week, I think, where their divisions, they would go out, they would, a couple tribes would go, then the tabernacle would go, and then tribes would follow behind. So that's the Levites carrying, everything for the tabernacle were protected. They had, protecting tribes in front and protecting tribes behind. Taken up, and the sons of Gershom and the sons of Merari departed, bearing the dwelling place. And the banner of the camp of Reuben departed according to the divisions, and over their army was Elitzur, son of Shedir, and over the army of the tribe of the children of Shimeon was Shemuel, son of Shaddai, and over the army of the tribe of the children of Gad was Eliasaph, son of Deel, and the Kethites. Now, the Kethites are the ones that carry like the ark and the menorah and all the important stuff, all the holy stuff, the set apart stuff. They departed, bearing the set apart objects, while the dwelling place was set up before they came. So, a couple tribes would go out, then all the stuff to put the tabernacle together, it was taken down. While the first tribes were leaving, they were taking everything down. Then they picked all that stuff up. They had carts and ox and stuff, and they would transport all of that. They would get to their, then some more tribes, and then all of the set apart implements, all of, like I said, the menorah, the ark, and all that. Then they would leave because they were, they had to get all that put together, and then the tribes would get there. They'd start to, set up camp. The tabernacle would start getting set up. By the time that all of the holy objects got there, the tabernacle would be set up and, like I said, protected with other tribes around about it as it was traveling. And the sons of Gershom, the Kethites departed, bearing the set apart objects, while the dwelling place was set up before they camped. And the banner of the camp of the children of Ephraim departed according to their divisions, and over their army was Elishama, son of Amhud. And over the army of the tribe of the children of Manasseh was Gamliel, son of Pedashur. And over the army of the tribe of the children of Benjamin was Abidan, son of Gidoni. Then the banner of the camp of the children of Dan, which formed the rear guard of all the camps, departed according to their divisions, and over their army was Ahazar, son of Ammishaddai. And over the army of the tribe of the children of Asher was Pagiel, son of Okran. And over the army of the tribe of the children of Naphtali was Ahira, son of Enan. Such was the order of setting out of the setting, such was the order of setting out of the children of Israel according to the divisions when they departed. And Moshe said to Hobab, son of Reuel, the Midianite, Moshe's father-in-law, we are setting out for the place which Yah said, I give it to you. Come with us, and we shall do good to you, for Yah has spoken good concerning Israel. And he replied to him, I am not going, but I am going to my own land and to my relatives. Then he said, please do not leave us, because you know how we are to camp in the wilderness, and you shall be our eyes. And it shall be when you go with us, then it shall be that whatever good Yah does to us, the same he will do to you. So they set out from the mountain of Yah on the journey of 3 days, and the ark of the covenant of Yah went before them for 3 days' journey to seek out a resting place for them. And the cloud of Yah was above them by day. Then they went out from the camp, and it came to be whenever the ark set out that Moshe said, rise up, O Yahweh, and let your enemies be scattered, and let those who hate you flee from before you. And when it rested, he said, return, O Yahweh, to the countless thousands of Israel. 11. And it came to be when the people were as complainers, it was evil in the ears of Yah, and Yah heard it, and was his displeasure burned. And the fire of Yah burned among them and consumed those in the outskirts of the camp, kind of like when Abimelech was chasing them, and ended up the ones lagging behind on the outs, falling behind were the ones that got taken up from, not Abimelech, Amalek, the king Amalek. Okay, so the people cried out to Moshe, and Moshe prayed to Yah, and the fire died down. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of Yah had burned among them. And the mixed multitude who were in the midst lusted greatly. So the children of Israel also wept again and said, who is giving us meat to eat? We remember the fish we had eaten without cost in Mitzrayim, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our being is dried up. There is naught to look at but this manna. So they despised. And how often do we, it's like, oh, this is boring. The manna, the living word, our daily bread. Do we get bored and find it boring and tasteless, and we're so distracted and want things to please us? But now our being is dried up. There is naught to look at but this manna. Also said. Now the manna was like coriander seed, and its appearance was like the appearance of bdellium. And people went out and gathered it, ground it on millstones, or beat it in a mortar, and cooked it in a pot and made cakes of it. And its taste was as the taste of cakes baked with oil. And when the dew fell on the camp at night, the manna fell on it. And Moshe heard the people weeping throughout the clans, each man at the door of his tent, with the displeasure. And the displeasure of Yah burned exceedingly in the eyes of Moshe. It was evil. So Moshe said to Yah, why have you done evil to your servant? And why have I not found favor in your eyes to put the burden of all these people on me? Was it I who conceived all of these people? Was it I who brought them forth, that you should say to me, carry them in your bosom, as a foster father carries a nursing child to the land which you swore to their fathers? Where am I to get meat to give all of these people? For they weep before me, saying, give us meat to eat. I am unable to bear all of these people alone, because the burden is too heavy for me. And if you're doing this to me, Kill me. Please just kill me if I have found favor in your eyes, and let me not see my evil. And Yah said to Moshe, gather together 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom you know to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them to the tent of appointment, and let them stand there with you. I shall come down and speak with you there, and shall take of the spirit that is on you and put on them. And they shall bear the burden of the people with you, so that you are not to bear it yourself alone. And say to the people, set yourself apart, for tomorrow you shall eat meat, because you have wept in the hearing of Yah, saying, who is giving us meat to eat? For it was well with us in Mitzrayim, and Yah shall give you meat, and you shall eat. You're going to eat not 1 day, nor 2, nor 5, nor 10, nor 20, but for an entire new moon of days, so an entire month, until it comes out of your nostrils and becomes an abomination to you, because you have rejected Yah, who is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why did we come out of Mitzrayim? And Moshe said, the people in whose midst I am 600,000, and Moshe said, the people in whose midst I am are 600,000 men on foot, and you have said, I give them meat to eat for a new moon of days. Could flocks and herds be slain for them to be sufficient for them? Or could all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them to be sufficient for them? And Yah said to Moshe, is the arm of Yah too short? Now see whether my word meets you or not. And Moshe went out and spoke to the people the words of Yah, and he gathered the 70 men of the elders of the people and placed them around the tent. And Yah came down in a cloud and spoke to him, and took to the spirit that was upon him, and placed the same upon the 70 elders. And it came to be, when the spirit rested upon them, that they prophesied, but did not continue. However, 2 men had remained in the camp, and the name was Eldad, and the name of the other was Medad. And the spirit rested on them. Now they were among those listed, but did not go out to the tent, and they prophesied in the camp. And a young man ran and informed Moshe and said, Elad and Medad are prophesying in the camp, and Joshua, son of Nun, Moshe's assistant from his youth, so he'd been with Moshe, his assistant, since he was a child, answered and said, Moshe, my master, forbid them. And Moshe said to him, are you jealous for my sake? Oh, that all the people of Yah were prophets, that Yah would put his spirit upon them. Yes, and amen. And Moshe returned to the camp, both he and the elders of Israel. And the wind went forth from Yah and brought quail from the sea, and let them fall beside the camp, about a day's journey out on this side, and about a day's journey on the other side, and all the camp, and about 2 cubits above the surface of the ground. And the people were up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and gathered the quail, who had least gathered 10 homers. And they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. And the meat was still between their teeth before it was chewed. And the wrath of Yah burned against the people, and Yah struck the people with an exceeding great plague. And he called the name of that place Kibroth Hatuah, because they buried the people who had lusted. From Kibroth Hatuah, the people set out for Hatzroth, and they were at Hatzroth. Now Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe because of the Cushite woman, Lashon Hara, evil speech. And this is something, and it's really hard, and especially in today's society with social media and everything, we've all developed really bad habits of speaking badly about others, and it brings about physical illnesses. So now Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moshe because of his Cushite woman, and other translations say Ethiopian, his wife, who he had taken, for he had taken a Cushite woman. This was Jethro, the priest of Midian's daughter. And they said, I think, no, wait a minute, now I'm confused. Did he take another wife? I can't remember this part. A Cushite woman. And they said, has Yah spoken only through Moshe? Has he not also spoken through us? And Yah heard it. Murmuring and complaining. And the man Moshe was very humble, more than all men who were on the face of the earth. And suddenly Yah said to Moshe and to Aharon and Miriam, "You three come out to the tent of appointment." So the three came out, and Yah came down in a column of cloud and stood at the door of the tent and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both went forward. And he said, "Hear now my words. If your prophet is of Yah, I make myself known to him in a vision, and I speak to him in a dream. Not so with my servant Moshe. He is trustworthy in all my house. I speak with him. I speak with him mouth to mouth and plainly and not in riddles, and he sees the form of Yahweh. So why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moshe?" And the displeasure of Yah burned against them, and he left. And the cloud turned away from above the tent, and look, Miriam was leprous, white as snow. And Aaron turned towards Miriam, and look, a leper. And Aharon said to Moshe, "Oh, my master, please do not hold against us the sin which we have done foolishly, in which we have sinned. Please do not let her be as one dead when coming out of his mother's womb with the flesh half consumed." And Moshe cried out to Yah, saying, "Oh, El, please heal her, please." And Yah said to Moshe, "If her father had but spit in her face, would she not be ashamed 7 days? Let her be shut out of the camp 7 days, and after that let her be readmitted." And Miriam was shut out of the camp 7 days, and the people did not set out until Miriam was readmitted. And after the people departed from Hatzerah, and they camped in the wilderness of Paran. Next is the prophet Zechariah 2:14 through 4:7. 2:14, which my Bible doesn't have a 2:14, starts at 3:1. And he showed me Yehoshua, the high priest, standing before the messenger of Yah, and Satan standing at his right hand to be an adversary to him. And Yah said to Satan, "Yah rebuke you, Satan. Yah, who has chosen Jerusalem, Jerusalem, rebuke you. Is this not a brand plucked from the fire?" And Joshua, was dressed in filthy garments and was standing before the messenger. And he answered and spoke to those who stood before him, saying, "Remove the filthy garments from him." And to him he said, "See, I have removed your guilt from you, and you shall put costly robes on you, and shall put costly robes on you." And I said, "Let them put a clean turban on his head." And they put a clean turban on his head, and they put garments on him. And the messenger of Yah stood by, and the messenger of Yah witnessed to Yehoshua, saying, "Thus says Yah of hosts, if you walk in my ways," this is a big one here. This is an if and when that we need to pay attention to. "If you walk in my ways, and if you guard my duty, then you shall also rule my house and also guard my courts, and I shall give you access among these standing here. Now listen, Yehoshua, the high priest, you and your companions who sit before you, for they are men of symbol. For look, I am bringing forth my servant, the branch. See, the stone which I have put before Yehoshua, on one stone are 7 eyes. See, I am engraving its inscription, declares Yah of hosts, and I shall remove the guilt of that land in 1 day. And that day, declares Yah of hosts, you shall invite one another under the vine and under the fig tree. 4. And the messenger who was speaking to me came back and woke me up as a man awakened from a sleep. And he said to me, "What do you see?" And I said, "I have looked, and I see a lampstand all of gold with a bowl on top of it, and a stand 7 lamps with 7 spouts to 7 lamps. And 2 olive trees are by it, one at the right of the bowl and the other at its left." And then I responded and spoke to the messenger who was speaking to me, saying, "What are these, my master?" And the messenger who was speaking to me answered and said, "Do you know what these are?" And I said, "No, my master." And he answered and said to me, "This is the word of Yah to Zerubbabel, not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit of Yahweh of hosts. Who are you, great mountain, before Zerubbabel, a plain, and he shall bring forth the capstone with shouts of favor to it." And next is the Gospels, Matthew 14, 14 through 21. So, and when Yeshua, Jesus, came out, he saw a large crowd and was moved with compassion for them. And he healed their sick. You know, it's always interesting. He's always moved with compassion before he heals. There's a lot there. And when evening came, his taught ones, his disciples, came to him saying, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is already late. Dismiss the crowds so that they might go into the villages and buy food for themselves." But Yeshua said to them, "They do not need to go away. Give them to eat yourselves." And they said to him, "We have here only 5 loaves and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." And commanding the crowd to sit down on the grass, and taking up the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven. He blessed and he broke. He blessed and broke and gave of the loaves to the taught ones. And the taught ones gave to the crowds, and all ate and were satisfied. And they picked up the pieces left over, 12 basketfuls. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. All right. Well, thank you. I pray that you have a blessed week. My plan is to record and what's the word? Record and upload. On Friday, I'll be reading in Genesis. So I'm on Fridays, I'm reading books of the Bible. And so currently I'm in Genesis. And so I think I'm start Genesis 31. So, and I'm creating a Genesis playlist that will have the whole book of Genesis once it's completed there. So today, on Mondays, I do the Torah portions. Fridays, I'll do just Bible reading, books of the Bible. Yah willing. I've literally been weeks and weeks and weeks before him, and Rusty as well, as to what I'm supposed to be doing, what it is he wants for me to do. And this is what we feel. This is where he's taking us, where we feel he's what he's doing with me, us. So be blessed. Spend some time in the Word. Please share, comment anything that you, any questions or any revelations that our Father gives to you through this portion. I'd love to hear from all of you. I'll see you later. Yah willing. Next Torah portion next Monday. Be blessed.